Hello everybody, in this tutorial we'll see how to create a WordPress website in less than 5 minutes. To do so we are going to use a special tool called WP-CLI, and contrary to the classical installation pattern, with this tool we can install WordPress by doing everything from the command line. WP-CLI allows you to do so. Before starting this tutorial, make sure that you have at least XAMPP installed. The important thing is that you have at least PHP and MySQL installed on your server. If you don't know how to do that, see in the comments and I'll leave you the link to install XAMPP. What I'm going to do is to click on installing, the installing instruction, and I'll copy this first instruction, curl, and then I'll open my git bash, that is just a Windows bash that gives me Unix commands. If you don't have it, you can follow the instruction on the website and download the bat file, that is the specific one for Windows. So what I'm going to do, I'll create my own folder for the project. I'll call it my WP site, my WordPress site, and I'll cd into that. Afterwards, I'm going to paste the link that I just copied from the CLI website. And once I click on enter, it will download on the folder the application. So if I type ls, I have this file, wp-cli.far, and I can type php, that's what you need the PHP executor, .par. And as you can see, it will give me a list of commands that I can run. I have cache, cap, and so many more. Afterwards, I'll give an alias to this command because I don't want to keep typing wp-cli.far. So in my case, I just move that into a specific folder and give it an alias of wp. If you don't know how to give an alias, just go either in your environment variables under Windows or see how to create an alias on git bash. So now if I type wp, I have the same identical information that you just saw. Let me clear this shell. Another thing you can do is type wp-info, and it will give you information on the PHP version you are running on and where the root directory of WP-CLI is. That said, I'll clear again. We need to execute a few commands. The first thing we need to learn about WP-CLI is that we can launch the command wp-core download. And this command will download the latest WordPress version in the folder where we currently are. If you want to download a specific version language, you have to add --locally equals, and for example you can type IT_IT in uppercase. But if you don't add any locally, you can just enter and it will download the United States version, the English version. So as you can see, we are downloading WordPress 4.7.1. and in literally seconds it's downloaded. So if I type ls, it's already extracted into my folder and you can see the typical WordPress file. We have the WP-admin directory, content, and so on. The next command we have to type is actually the command to generate our config file. It's called wp-config. So let's type wp-core config, and then we have to pass two parameters. The first parameter is --db name, the name of the database we want to create, and I call it my WPDB. And the second parameter is the user in our database that will be used to create it, the user in MySQL that will be used to create such a database. The standard user that you have in a MySQL installation is root, but you can create any user in MySQL and decide to use that one instead, as long as it has privileges to create a database. So enter. And as you can see, we have generated a wp-config file. If you want to look at that, you can do less wp-config php, and it's a typical WordPress configuration file. Let's clear the shell once again. And the next thing we have to do after downloading WordPress and configuring our wp-config file is to create a database. And that's what happens when you go through the typical installation process of WordPress. But in our case, we'll do that from one single line. So we'll type wp-db, that stands for database, create. And in 1 second, we have created the WordPress database that will store our article and pages. After we have created our database, now we can finally install the core of WordPress. This is the longest command we have to type for this tutorial. In general, you install WordPress by going on the WordPress folder, and it will, the first time you have downloaded that, it will give you a wizard where you can choose the language, the site name, and everything else. But this time we're just going to type WP core install, and then we have to pass a few parameters. The first parameter is the URL of our website, and given that I'm on my localhost, I'll type localhost, and 8080 is the port that we're going to use. You'll see why I'm using this port later. Then dash admin underscore user, so our admin user will be WP-CLI, and the admin password. Dash admin underscore password. I'll put the same password, but make sure to create a strong one. Admin email, and this is my administration email. And the last one is the title of our website. So dash title equal, and in double quotes we'll type my WordPress site, my WP site. That's it. We can press enter. And WP-CLI actually installed our WordPress successfully. Before running our site, there's one last thing we have to do. We have to update the site URL. That's something you generally do in your administration panel, but you can do everything, as I said, through this client. So you can do through the command line, type WP option. This means that we're going to update the WP option table in the database. Then we type update, and the name of the variable we want to update, the name of the record. Site URL is our record, and the record will be http localhost 8080. If you were using this application on a production website, you should have put during WP core install your site name, like www.mysite.com, and the site URL should have been something similar. We've done everything we have to do. The last thing I have to mention is that there is an integrated server inside WP-CLI. So we don't need to run Apache in this case, but we can just type WP server. And I have to pass a parameter in because I'm using git bash. And the parameter name is docroot. So docroot equal, and in double quotes I put /c, that is my C drive, users, my name, Alessandro, documents, work, my WP site. This is just the path to the folder where I'm currently at. And this is telling the server to use this specific folder as the root of my website. I'll type enter. And as you can see, it's not working yet because I've forgotten that I have to remove the last slash after my WP site. So once I remove it and enter again, nothing happens. It means that it's a good thing, and now we can finally go back to our browser, go on our localhost on port 8080, and bam, our WordPress website is up and running in no time. We can actually log in into our website by going to localhost 8080/wp admin. We'll have the usual login mask, and we'll use WP-CLI as our user and WP-CLI as our password as well. I'll click on login, and I'm into the administration area. Keep in mind that if you had to install WordPress either on a local website or on a remote one, it wouldn't take much more time than what it took me. It took me only a few minutes, and I was also doing an explanation in between. But generally speaking, you had to configure your server, download WordPress, copy the file over, configure your WP config, configure your database, and blah 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 blah. And it will take between 20 minutes and half an hour if you are already used to that. While with WP-CLI it took me only a few minutes, and if I wasn't talking it wouldn't be even 2 minutes. I hope that you really like this tool. There is so much more you can do with that, and if you type WP help you'll have an idea. You can do theme configuration, plugin installation, you can search and replace in your database strings, you can do so many things. Pretty much everything you can think of is doable through this tool. And the most important thing is also that you can deploy your website from your local server to your remote server by just using WP-CLI. If you're interested in knowing more about that, please leave a comment below. I hope you liked this tutorial, so please leave a like, subscribe to our channel, and follow us on our Facebook page, and let us know if you want to see more tutorials about WordPress and WP-CLI.